Hello, everybody. I just wanted to have a quick second to let you guys know how much it means to me that you are my sponsor. SRP Studios, The Real Hernando, The Rhythm Section, Hardwick, Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality, Estes, Grading, Hodge Homes, Adair, Honey Farm, Miss Hippie Eats, Phones R Us, Ross, Sod Farms and Landscaping, Ivy Rain, Women's Clinic, Tonic POS by Tyler Young, and Coffee Central. Thank you guys so much for being a sponsor. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go to my website now, motivatecoachcamp.com, and click on the button. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and we're down here in the illustrious studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. All right, folks. Hey, look, if you guys follow along regularly, then you've seen that I cover a lot of topics, and I'm going to be fully transparent with this one. I don't know why this one has taken so long to come to light. It's 2.5 years in. I've been doing podcasting and we're just now covering this topic, but I've got news for you. I do believe God has a plan for everything. So there's a reason why this moment right now is happening. And I do believe that with all my heart. This week's guest is probably, if you're in the area, if you're in DeSoto County area in particular, I know that one of my guests is probably very familiar with you if you ever go out to a club anywhere, Mr. Juno Avent. His wife, Kristina, is going to also join us on this episode. It's all about the journey that these two are about to take together. I'm going to set the table, then we're going to go into a conversation, and it simply is this. If you are on this earth more than just a small amount of time, chances are you probably know someone personally, whether it's family or friend, that has dealt with the horrible disease of cancer. That is just a fact, myself included. So the point is we need to hear and see what a person's going through in those moments, especially when they first start, because there's so many people every day, millions of people across the world deal with this on a regular basis. And the Avents, well, they are unfortunately in that battle right now, but they have decided to go public. They want to help people with their story, and that's why they are here today. And we're going to hear all about that. We're going to hear about their journey together. But first, we want to get to know them a little bit better and find out some of their backstory. So at this time, I'd like to welcome in Mr. Juno and Kristina. Welcome to the Motivate with Coach Camp show.
What's going on? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys. And you just got off work, huh?
I did.
Wow. Full day for you. Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
Thank you for fitting me in for sure.
Of course.
So let's just start with some basics, and we'll start with you, Kristina. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up and what family life was like in your early days.
Okay, so I'm from Horn Lake.
Okay.
I was the last graduating class of the original Horn Lake High School.
Oh, what year was that?
06.
06. I didn't even know how long it went.
Yeah. So
how about that?
Horn Lake, I pretty much lived Memphis, DeSoto County my whole life. Only child. My half brother, is 25 years older than me, I think.
25 years
Yeah,
old.
so we never lived in the same house. So basically only child. My father was 50-something when I was born.
Oh, wow.
He passed away 10 years ago, I think, at 78. So I'm 37. If he was still alive, he'd be 88. So he had me quite late in life. My mother... I had an interesting childhood.
Well, share as much or as little as you want.
No, it's fine. Just, my mom struggled with addiction her whole life.
Okay.
And I have built up a resilience for a lot of things, I think, because of that. And, that's it. I mean, pretty normal. I cheered.
Okay.
I actually met my husband when I was in 7th grade for the very first time.
Oh, wow.
That's an interesting story.
He came to my English class. Gabby Johnson came to my English class as a guest speaker.
Oh.
And
they were talking about poetry or whatever.
Yeah.
And we went and related poetry to songwriting and probably played a song.
I don't know.
And what year was this?
Oh, I have no idea.
7th grade.
Close to 9/11, because I think I was in 7th grade. So what year was that?
9/11 was 2001.
2001, yeah.
So let me ask you the question that people might think. So when he walked in the room, did you immediately say, I'm going to marry that man?
No, but my best friend still makes fun of me. She swears that I kept his gum out of the trash can.
Oh,
and
wow.
I did not do that. Somebody kept Travis's gum, though, that day.
Fascinating.
But it was not me.
So somebody dug out the gum. That was spitting
allegedly.
Okay, well, allegedly. Well, that's the right way to say that, I believe. Yeah. So growing up then, as an only child, I would imagine then you were given a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah.
Is that normal? Yeah. That's pretty normal usually. I know my daughter's kind of that way.
Yeah, I had to learn how to not be an only child as an adult.
Yeah.
Adult only children are the worst. I'm sorry, that's rude. They have a tendency to be very needy and me. And that's something that you have to figure out how to not be that way as an adult when you're raised an only child, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, no, it is tougher because you're used to everything going your way. That's the way that usually works. My daughter is 15 and her brothers are respectively 28 and 27.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same kind of concept.
Yeah.
So then when you graduate high school, what did you do next?
I went to Northwest for a few years. It was one of those where I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a nurse. I got waitlisted for nursing school at Northwest, and one of my friends was like, hey, they just opened up a hair school in Memphis called Paul Mitchell. Do you want to go with me? I was like, sure. I had never had any desire to do hair ever. My mother didn't do hair.
That was going to be a question I was going to have.
She never, my mom wasn't like fashionista or anything by any means. So there was never any desire for me to be interested in hair or makeup or anything like that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. So I went, and took me a few years to get done with school because I got pregnant with my son in the process in the middle of cosmetology school. And I've been doing hair for 15 years now, and I love it. And it's the best thing I've ever done for myself. I
Isn't
love
that
it
interesting?
so much. Yeah,
a suggestion from a friend,
literally,
and it set a course that was going to be a part of your life from that day forward.
Yeah.
So then, Juno, how do you fit into the equation? So we're going to start out. First of all, I got it. Full disclosure. I do know stuff about you from our young days, but I really grew up with your brother.
Right.
So your brother and I, we were about the same age.
Yeah.
You're a little younger than us, but I know that you had the Gabby Johnson and stuff. But what was it like growing up in high school?
So I got a sister that's 6 years older than me, and my brother's 3 years older than me. So every school I went to, all the teachers and people knew the Avents, and plus Steve and Scott Avent were their age.
Yeah.
So my brother and sister, my sister had Steve, I think, and my brother had Scott, or
somewhere in there,
the other way around.
Yeah, it's fine.
So they were Avents ahead of me. So everywhere, every class, every teacher, always they heard my name first day, and they're like, "Oh, we got another one."
There was a history there. There's a reputation.
So that's whatever. But
and what was your name back then?
We grew up on in DeSoto Village.
Yeah,
and because
that was Twin Lakes, so it's kind of like that.
You went outside and you played all day long.
That's it. You were gone. Just doing your thing.
When I think back on my childhood, I just remember everybody going outside and being outside and playing and just doing whatever.
Yeah,
didn't matter what, stickball, play in the ditch, organized baseball, whatever it was. Everybody was outside doing stuff.
That's right,
all the time.
Your cohort from Juno Mars. In case you guys don't know, they have a band now. It's been together almost a decade. Juno Mars, you and Donnie Mars. Donnie grew up right down the road from me, and all I heard was drums all day. I'm like, hey, you want to come out and play baseball? He's like, I got some drums. Right. So he was hitting drums all the time. Yeah. So did you start out playing music when you were young?
I quit playing baseball. There's a funny story. Gary Parrish's mom tells a story. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know why she'd make it up. It's weird. But she's me and Gary were on the same team several years. Well, whatever year, a 13 year or 12, whatever, that I didn't show up for the first practice or whatever it was. She was like, "Where's Jeremy?" By the way, maybe
people might not know that.
Your birth certificate name?
Should I go into Jeremy?
Yeah.
Anyway, she's like, "Where's Jeremy?" And they was like, "He's not playing this year." She crossed the ditch. I lived right across from the old those old fields.
Tennis courts. Right?
She crossed the ditch, came to our house, knocked on the door, and says, "Where's Jeremy?" And my dad was like, "He's back there playing guitar."
Oh.
And that's when I quit playing baseball, I started playing guitar. And when I started playing guitar, I started playing guitar.
You never went away from it.
Like, dude,
what inspired you to go that way? I'm just curious.
my dad plays.
Okay.
And his uncle.
Yeah. My dad played Merle Haggard songs. He strummed chords.
Okay.
In the living room and stuff. So I've always heard it. But my dad taught his brother, and my uncle took it like he was in a band. He was in an 80s band. He had a guitar with lightning bolts on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
He tied do-rags around his knees and had holes in his jeans and was on a stage. And I saw there was smoke on the stage.
He's the only Avent man that still has hair.
Oh, wow.
He got head full.
Head full. The only one.
Well, anyway, I saw a picture. I saw a picture of Uncle Kevin on a stage.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I want.
And you were how old?
13, probably.
Yeah. Wow.
12, maybe 12 at that time. So anyway, yeah. So 13 was when I started playing, and I just fell in love with it. And
that became who you were. So when did Gabby Johnson officially form? What year was that? Because obviously, my days growing up through college, and then as my adult, I mean, anytime I come in town, if I was out of town, it's like, oh, Gabby's playing at such and such bar, and so go down and check you out.
Our first gig was June 27th, 1997. And the reason I know
How do you
this,
remember that?
I don't. It's not that. Oh, I guess I do remember it. I used to keep up with all of that stuff for our website. So I did our original .com, and so I had links and photos and history, and I wrote out the history because I was the only person that had a computer or knew how to use a computer.
Oh, back then that was definitely not something. I mean, Windows 95 had just hit the scene.
Right.
Yeah.
So I learned HTML. It was all a thing. Yeah. But so I wrote out our history, so I remember the dates because I'm the historian of the band.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was in June of 97, and like I said on the rhythm section, as soon as we started, it just went. Mm-hmm. And I know why, because I graduated in 94. Travis graduated in
97.
97.
97.
99 maybe, whatever it was. I knew my brother's friends, so I knew all of y'all, and I knew the people after me. And Travis knew
plus and minus on that.
So we had a huge group of people that we all knew from day one. So if we played,
we went. I mean,
somebody collected gum, so there was fans there for real.
I'm talking like, we were at Bobo's and
Bobo's, man, that's a callback.
What was the one in Hernando that's now Goodwill?
Loves.
Yeah, Loves. I got kicked out of that place so many times.
Forget Loves?
Because I got kicked out a lot. I don't know. I don't.
For being underage?
Yes.
That's great. That is great.
Yeah.
So obviously to my listeners, if you're not from the area, maybe you're in England right now, Guy was a local legend, still is, but I'm just saying back in those days, Gabby Johnson was a big deal. You guys traveled quite a bit, played states. I don't know how many states you went to. It's really a very strong band. How long were y'all together?
18 years. Same four guys.
Wow.
So keeping a band name together for 18 years is a big deal.
Sure
but
it is.
Same four guys. Nobody ever, none of us had other jobs. This was our full-time thing. We were the kind of band that was like, if somebody requested a song and we didn't know it, we said no.
Yeah.
Nowadays, somebody can request a song that I've never heard.
Yeah.
And I'm at, Georgia Blue, and I'm like, well, can you sing it? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, let me look up the chords, and I'll just do it.
Well, you've been doing it for 75 years now, so it's pretty much.
But they were very professional.
Yeah, Gabby Johnson was a very finely tuned.
And because of that, he's very particular now. Like, he obviously is with with him and Donnie, it's a little bit more laid back, the acoustic. But when he's with his full band, he likes it.
Yeah. Very particular.
Yeah.
That's okay, though.
There's a certain.
But Gabby Johnson they were particular.
You guys were good.
Well, as an example, we used to do LaGrange. We learned LaGrange and practiced it, did it at a gig. None of us liked it. It wasn't good. It wasn't there.
Not your quality.
5 years pass. We tried again. I don't know what had happened over 5 years. We either learned how to play or I learned how to deepen my voice for that intro part, whatever it was. And it became good. And there's been songs that we've learned. We've spent time practicing and learning, and we do it at a gig and we're like, nope, that one don't make the cut.
I'm going to tell you something. I recently saw you put up a video doing Rage Against the Machine. One of my favorites from back in the day. I was like, man, that is an awesome song, dude.
I love it.
That's an awesome
we just
song.
Added that one.
Yeah, I want to hear it now.
That was one that I didn't know how to play it. Robbie is in a kind of a 90s band. Robbie knew how to play it. And I was like, do y'all know Bulls on Parade? Is that what it was?
I think that was. Yeah, that's it.
So I was like, if y'all know it, I can follow Robbie because I knew it's not a difficult song to play. So they knew it. And I was like, watching, and so now we do it, and I freaking love that one.
Yeah, me too. It's one of my favorites, honestly. Back in the days, get me fired up, and you don't need to put fire on Coach Camp. It is turning into catastrophe. So, if you're wondering, what does all this have to do with anything? Well, here's how this works, because we got to know a little bit about what your life was like growing up and what you went through and what kind of started to mold the person that you are today. And the same thing with you, Juno. What was your influences? Well, being a musician, being somebody that was an entrepreneur, traveling, those are a lot of stresses. That's a lot of unknown that you have to deal with. Would you agree? I mean, when you're in a band, you have, and entrepreneurs in particular, you have so much that you're not sure about from one day to the next if it's going to be successful.
Right.
And you have to wrap your head around that and be positive. When they first came in, by the way, this is it was fascinating, and I didn't know that you were into this, but you start talking about something and you're talking about sponsorships, and you're shooting for the stars. You're not talking about, your local mom and pop store. You're like, I was wondering if Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola, and I'm like, that is the Juno I know, right?
I would love to get a Dr. Pepper.
But here's why that's important. So that's why this is why I build the story like I do, no matter who my guests are and what the topic is because I want people to kind of see behind the lens. And sometimes even my guests are like, there's a moment where they're like, I never thought about it that way. But for you guys, you always, from what I know about you, and Kristina, to be quite honest, I don't know a lot about you yet, but that's what we're here to learn about, is you have to be positive minded. It's a mindset. Life is a mindset. Mm-hmm. And, you're going to be thrown a lot of stuff your way. It doesn't matter if it is a job loss or you have some kind of tragedy within your family. You're going to have moments that you have to see past the tragedy and find the good in something in order to keep stepping forward.
Absolutely.
And that's tough to do especially in the moment. All right. Because it's real easy to think about all the reasons why that's not fair, whatever that thing is that took place. And you can't see how there's a better tomorrow when today sucks so bad. But all the things that you guys have been through, and of course with you, being an only child, there are some challenges there too, because you have to wrap your head around when you get a little older that, maybe things weren't always as easy as I thought they were. And so now you have to build a toughness about you, which you were able to do. And then you being in a band, of course, traveling, then an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of other things we'll talk about as far as what you do, clothing lines, I don't know, influencer, starvation expert. We'll talk about all that stuff. But you guys, y'all are an inspiration. And that kind of brings me to this point. So when you're playing the band and you knew of him, what was the moment or what was the year that y'all meet up and you're like, hey, you know what? Kind of like you.
I got to tell this story.
All right, I want to hear it.
Go ahead.
The band I was in at the time.
After he tells it, I'll tell it right.
I love that.
The band I was in at the time had a gig at, I want to say Bowling Point. It don't matter where it was, but it got canceled like the day before or the day of. So all four of us were off on a Friday or Saturday night, whatever night it was. And we're like, well, let's go hear some.
Do you know what year this was?
2013.
Okay.
Yes.
You're right. You're going to be you're the historian in this.
So the four of us were like, let's go see a band. We'll go get something to eat and go watch Aquanet, I think is who it was.
Time out. Before he moves on, sorry, I'm going to do this. He doesn't go out to eat with his friends. He doesn't do that. That's not what he does.
Okay.
So
this was a unique moment.
I would say 9.5 times out of 10, if he has a gig, it gets canceled, he's going to hang out with his kids. That's the bottom line. He had just gotten separated from his children's mom, Erica, and they must have been with her that night. And so you were like, sure, I'll go eat. Like, that doesn't happen. So the fact that he was even there in itself is
an odd moment.
Yeah.
That's true. I never thought about that. But so we went to eat at Maria's Cantina. She was there looking all good with her friends. And I think she was there was four of them, and I knew three of them. I didn't know her. Mm-hmm. So I went up and talked to the ones that I knew, and I was like, blah, blah, blah. And what did I say? Oh,
no.
What did I say? You said something?
I started it.
Okay.
You talked to them and did your little ballerina thing. You were mimicking Addison.
Oh, I was talking about Addison was taking ballet.
And then you said, all right, y'all have a good night. And I said, nice not to meet you, because you didn't speak to me.
I didn't know her.
Were you intimidated by her?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Insanely gorgeous. Like somebody like me, especially without a guitar in my hands.
Oh, you have the confidence with the guitar.
I don't get to talk to people like this.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wasn't going to introduce myself.
Yeah.
Which I knew who he was. I stole his gum in middle school, obviously.
Yeah, that's what the story is.
Yeah.
So at this time, she's 25, I'm 37. And so she said, nice night to meet you. And I was like, oh, sorry, blah, 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 blah. We met. She had on a silk shirt. I was like, ooh, that shirt feels awesome. That's how smooth I am.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, we finished at Maria's. We were going to go to Bowling Point, and I told them, I was like, hey, we're going to Bowling Point if y'all want to all go to Bowling Point, which I did not expect that to happen. They did. We get there, and one of her friends, I was like, hey, what was that girl's name that was sitting at the end of your table? Kristina, come talk to her. So I went and talked to her. I was like, hey, I'm Juno. She's like, we've met before. And I was like,
yeah, in 7th grade.
I'm so sorry. She's like, you came to my 7th grade English class.
Well, and I found out later, my mother, I
turned around and walked away.
I told you my mom has struggled with addiction pretty much her whole adult life, but she remembers things that I don't. She remembers a lot of things that I don't. And she told me this recently. When y'all came to our 7th grade class, that week we were having some type, or that month, whatever, we were having some type of contest. It was like a canned food drive, some type of contest. And me and a boy in that same class won throughout the whole entire 7th grade. And Miss DeStephanis, my English teacher, rewarded us by taking us to Huey's to see Gabby Johnson play that Sunday night.
Isn't that
and
something?
I don't remember that. My mom's like, yeah, you don't remember Miss D took you and that boy, whatever his name was, to see Gabby Johnson on a Sunday night at Huey's. That was her. She was rewarding you because y'all won out of the whole entire school for the canned food drive. And I was like, I don't remember that.
How do you feel about being the reward?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's pretty good.
But so this is also a funny story. We met on February 2nd, 2013, and his divorce was final. That was on a Saturday. His divorce was final February 4th, that Monday. And so me and his ex-wife we're all very close. We go on vacations together. We co-parent together very well, and I'm so thankful for that. But and I do her hair. So the other day she was getting her hair done on like February 2nd or February 3rd, and I said, Erica, tomorrow's your how many years?
It'd be 12 now.
Tomorrow's your 12-year divorce anniversary, and everybody knows that this is my current husband's ex-wife. I'm shampooing her hair, and she's like, "How do you know that?" And I was like, "Because remember, Juno and I met 2 days before y'all's divorce was final." And everybody in the salon's like, "This is really awkward." And I was like, "No, it's not.
People think it's weird.
Not awkward."
Yeah.
I was like, "We get along great."
We do Christmases together. We do,
That's great, though.
trick or treating. I coached Addison's softball team with her stepdad.
Okay.
So it's not weird to us, but I can see where
I can relate because my ex-wife has been on vacations with me and my wife.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
we had
we go on vacation
my ex-wife
together.
have a son together, and so we,
Right.
it's probably more weird if she's going on vacation and we didn't have a kid together. That part would be weird. Then it's like sister wives or something. I don't know how that works. But no, so it's when you have a child together, it is important that is the focal point.
Absolutely.
Right. And so how that works is going to be people have to adult and, move on with relationships. So it sounds great that actually is another great piece to the type of person that you are. You saw something that could be, and that, it's a pretty common, I would say, I won't say it's for everybody, but it's a pretty common problem that people would have. And it never was.
Yeah.
The adaptability to that seems like it was seamless.
Yeah. It wasn't always. The beginning was a little rough, but I mean, they
Same over
literally,
here.
They literally had. We met, like I said, 2 days before their divorce was final. I had a child. He had kids. It was, divorce is horrible. It's sad. It doesn't matter what the terms are. And then when there's kids involved, Erica,
that's the tragedy for sure.
Erica didn't know me. She just saw this woman come in, and and it was one of those things where I tried to make her know from the very beginning, like I'm not trying to take your place, I promise. And obviously she learned that over the years. And now, like, it's so funny with my diagnosis. We spoke to my son who's 16 about, we don't have a will, and we should probably get one, but we don't have anything like that. And I told him, I said, if something were to happen to us, I would prefer you go live with Erica, just so you know. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. That's like that. He knows that would be his comfort because he would still get to be with his siblings. He's comfortable there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's just funny to me that if God forbid something, if him and I both were to die in a car accident, like
things happen for sure.
we have told him like, hey, you're 16, you can choose where you want to go. You should go live with them. And he probably would choose them.
That's great. It's beyond amazing, but that's a great testament. Yeah. That's a great testament. So just to put that on the map then, so how many kids did you have prior?
Just one.
You had one, and you have a son.
Yep, 16.
And Juno?
Me and Erica have 2.
You have 2. So I know of Addison because I'm obviously a softball dad as well. So I see your daughter playing softball. She plays for DeSoto Central. She's a baller. One time I thought I saw you putting videos of her being power lifter. I don't know. It's like Addison stamp everything. I don't know. It's just like she's the American Girl doll. She is that person.
She loves everything.
And she was in American Girl Doll when she was
I know, that's why I used that. That's why I actually used that. It was a spin back too. Yeah.
Dude, she told me
research.
She told me the other day, she's like, if I didn't play softball and volleyball, golf and tennis would be my.
There is no stop.
Which is so frustrating because she's so fast. Why doesn't she run track?
Yeah, she should have done track.
She should be running track.
She should be running
She's
track.
so fast.
Yeah,
I've seen her still home.
You know the thing where you can sometimes look back. Maybe I should have done this. She should have been in track since she was 5. Mm-hmm. When Austin turned 8, she was 5. Austin had a birthday party with all his baseball buddies, and kids they run. Mm-hmm. So they raced. My 5-year-old daughter was faster than every 8-year-old boy.
That's something
there. And so a light bulb should have went off at that time from 2 things. Number one, I should have been thinking she needs to be a slapper. Mm. I didn't follow through with that. And then she should have been in track. She didn't start slapping until she was 12 years old. Yeah. And that's a miss. Like I missed out on some, and she's doing fine with it. But if she'd have started at 5,
she'd be an elite slapper. If that's a thing, I don't know. I guess that's a thing.
We've had coaches tell us that in middle school she was already collegiate level fast for softball.
Yeah,
and
I've seen her run the bases on your videos, and she's blazing.
But she don't want to run.
Yeah, well, that's the other part. You got to want to run. That's true.
Run.
Yeah, I have told her. I was like, look, you're little, and so you're going to be fast on a softball field. You're going to hit a lot of singles. I was like, in your life, you'll probably never hit a home run. You hit a lot of singles, and you'll steal a lot of bases. Or you could excel and be in contention for some big things in track. She's like, I'd rather do softball.
D1. We're like, D1. You could go D1 for track. She's like, I don't want to run.
I'd rather get singles. Yeah.
That's fine.
That's what I tell any boy that goes out with Maddie. We're only doing singles, boys. Only doing singles. That's all I'm saying. So here we are. We have, and actually hearing that story about how she's just, sees something, thinks about it, she can do it. Goes back to Dad seeing the stars only. There's no mountaintops. There's only the stars, which that does make sense to me. I want to go back to one other quick thing before we move on to the relationship and how it built between you two. So you mentioned, though, about your mom's addiction. And how old were you? I just wanted to kind of build that part into this. How old were you the first time you found out about your mom's addiction?
Oh, my. I think I was in middle school. I think when I was in kindergarten, we fled in the middle of the night. Went to Georgia, where my grandparents were living at the time, Jekyll Island, Georgia, and I remember that moment. Like 5 years old, I remember us leaving in the middle of the night. I remember her. But I didn't know why. Obviously, I was a child. I didn't know why we were leaving. Years later, I remember we were in a hotel room. It was a cheerleading competition, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but we got on the topic of that specific time in our lives. And she told me it was because she was on drugs, and she had spent all my dad's money, and she was scared of what his reaction was going to be when he found out. So we just ran away.
And that was the first time you even knew about it. So she did a really good job then covering it up.
Absolutely. And obviously now when I look back on it, I'm like, oh my.
You see things now, but you didn't know.
Things. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. That's a common thread that people that are family members that I've had on the show talk about their child or whatever that were on drugs. They just didn't see it because they'd never been around it. They didn't know what to look for. And then now that they know, they look back and they're like, oh man, there were signs all around me. So then did that become a part of your story growing up? Was that a part of the struggle at any point for you, or was there strength or anything taken away?
Definitely yes to all those, but I don't know what. I've never really pinpointed at what point did I realize that I didn't have a normal family like my mom and dad, because my dad was not involved at all. He was born in 1930. I don't know what. So he was like, the wife cooks and cleans and takes care of the kid. I make the money, so he didn't go to my events. He wasn't involved at all. We didn't have a relationship at all. Lived in the same house my whole life, but did not have a relationship. And then my mom obviously struggled with addiction. And I see now her desire to want to be loved and needed, and so she sought that in other relationships. Like she was the mom who would invite 100 kids to my house just because she wanted.
Surrounded by.
Yeah,
good atmosphere.
So I don't know if I didn't really, again, realize I didn't have a normal childhood until I was, were you and I together when she went to rehab? Okay. it all blurs together. So I finally got her to rehab. This was obviously as an adult. And that's when I had to start taking care of my dad and taking care of his finances and stuff. And that's when it all, I was like, okay, you got to pull my bootstraps up and
So then strength came to you in a way that you didn't have a choice at the time. Yeah. You kind of had to figure it out quick.
And again, I was very blessed. I never went without. She was, she struggled. She had a horrible childhood. I always say when I think of her, I think of Jenny from Forrest Gump. Like literally that's what I think of, like just total hippie, abusive father, and that's what happens.
Making bad choices at times, and then one thing leads to the next.
Absolutely. And she never worked. My dad, and so when he passed, she had no education, and so she lost the house, and she, and then now she's been sober for years, and she's
that's good.
So she's good. But
all of that feeds into the fact that she does CrossFit and she lifts heavy and runs long and does all the stuff. And
I'm so glad you said that, because that was my segue. And I don't know if you looked at my notes and saw that, because that's where I was going next was diet, exercise.
Yeah, no, that's her. That's I don't know. I can't explain that. That's
how you keep your mental health. Oh, no doubt about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, like people that have been through some traumatic moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
they say that's like,
Listen, let me tell this story. She was training for one of her marathons, and she's got people that she runs with. They couldn't do it, so I had to ride a bike behind her, because I'm not going to run 19 miles. It was 19 that day, right?
I don't know, like 17.
It was ridiculous. It was one of her long days, the 2 weeks before the marathon, so it was the longest of all the long runs. And so I got a bike, and I was going to ride it behind her, just to be there with her. And at about mile...
It was early.
Sometimes you've done it. Some of your runs, you feel great at mile 10. Sometimes you feel terrible at mile 1.5. Well, early on, 3-4 miles, she was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do 19. And I'm the kind of guy, because my childhood was dreamy. My parents are still married. They love each other, and they love me more than anything. And it's like, so she gets to mile 4, and she's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do 19. So I'm like, look, if you can't do it, let's go. I'm not because I want to go home, but because you're struggling and you're not in a competition with, it's not like you're part of a team and you're going to if you can't do it, don't do it. So she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So we get to 10. I'm definitely not going to be able to do 19. She still hasn't stopped.
You're not going to be able to do 19 on a bike.
Right.
That's what he's thinking. He's like, please let her stop. Please let her stop. My ass is going numb. I kept, I don't know, 2-3 times she said, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And she never stopped. And, when you live with somebody, it's like as your kids grow, you barely see it. Like you don't notice them growing. When you live with somebody, you don't see the big picture things. But that day, I was like, she's got something that not very many people have. Like, and I especially don't have it. People that do marathons, they all have
I would disagree, but we'll talk about that in a minute. You have a different version.
He absolutely does. But he hates exercise.
But I'll say this.
That's the bottom.
When if I'm doing curls and I want to do 10 and I'm at 6, I'm like, 6 is good. I'm going to throw it down and stop at 6 because hate is not even a big enough word.
You just don't have the value there, but you have self-discipline. And that's actually what you're saying. You are building self-discipline. I complain all the time. My wife will tell you, I'm a complainer, but I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
The more I complain, actually, the madder I get that I have to complain about whatever the thing is I'm doing that I really kind of don't want to do, but I won't not do it. So it just keep pushing. And sounds like that's what you do. And to be honest with you, both of you guys, by the way, and this was the transition, talking about exercise, fasting, the things that you guys do. And I want to know about how that blended into your relationship, how that came about. But I didn't know. So how long have you had the athletic training, running? Like, at what age did you start that? Was it before you met him?
Yeah, I kind of started running while I worked at Hooters.
Okay.
And after my son was born, I had to get back in the orange shorts. So I started working out.
Whatever motivates you.
And so I ran, I literally ran a few miles a week, 2 miles on a Wednesday and 2 miles on a Saturday, whatever. strictly because I wanted to be a certain size, right? And then I worked out very briefly and had no idea what I was doing again because I wanted to look a certain way. And it was after my son was born. I was 21 years old. I was single, the whole story. When him and I started dating, he was running at the time. He used to be a runner. He's done several.
I honestly did not know that.
I hated every minute of it.
I did not know this about you.
And I, at the time, had never run more than a 5K. And he had signed up for St. Jude. That was the year that it iced over and they canceled it.
2012 or 13.
13.
Yes.
The next year, he signed up again. Didn't train. He did so many half marathons without training. I don't know how. He would play on a Saturday night, not get home till 3 a.m. and not sleep and then go run. And, obviously that was 10 years ago. So he was...
Stupidity.
Yeah.
And sometimes they go hand in hand.
But so I went with him for St. Jude that year, 2014. And I remember the words coming out of my mouth, why on earth would anyone willingly run 13 miles? That makes no sense to me. Well, then we went down there and I cried the whole time because it's St. Jude and it's emotional. When you've never seen it and then you go see it, you're like, this is amazing. All these people raising money for these kids, it's emotional. So that year I was like, I'm doing it next year. Like, as soon as I said those words, I also said, okay, I'm doing it because it was like I wanted to be a part of it. And I started working out at Orange Theory and I got the bug. And then I started seeing and feeling what it was doing to my body. And
basically, I passed the torch.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah,
basically, what
she saw you do it. She's like, I think I would like to do it. You're like, well, here, you can have it now.
That's the very moment that I quit running.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. No, it's not. You've ran some since then. But when I originally started, it was strictly for an aesthetic reason. It wasn't, I was still 20, I was 25 when we met. So I was in between, we got married at 28. So within that 3 years, I was still, I didn't care. Honestly, I didn't think about my health. I just wanted to look good.
So you were doing it strictly for the looks that you could gain
at that
from
time
it.
in my life. Yes, I was. I mean, as I would assume most 20-year-olds do. I used to smoke and drink, and I still would be drinking if I didn't have cancer. I'm not gonna lie. I only quit drinking because I have cancer, but I did quit smoking. I used to not be healthy.
Yeah. And what year did y'all get married?
2016.
So 3 years later.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right.
It's in my. I got it in my phone somewhere.
You're actually helping me out. So it's like just recently I was like, I don't know. We got married on the 13th of some month. Yeah. It was a month. So I get it. So 3 years after that. So from that first time that you see the St. Jude, do you start to become a regular St. Jude participant?
I've been in St. Jude. I've ran St. Jude every year, except for this past year. One of my coworkers got married on the day of St. Jude, and we built this huge photo backdrop for the wedding. We had to go downtown and set it up. I wouldn't have been able to run and do this. I helped one of my friends out for her wedding. So that's interesting. It would have been my 10th year if I
have that written down here. About 2017, I knew that you had ran the St. Jude and stuff. I didn't know all the years that you had done it, but I was curious if St. Jude was just the attraction was the cause, or if you had a connection. Nope. If you had family members or friends that had a connection.
Never.
So it was the attraction of the beauty of what it stands for, but then also you had gotten into running.
I've never, at that time, I did not know anyone who had a child or even any cancer. I didn't know anybody that had ever had cancer, honestly, close. I did end up, one of my friends, I worked at a salon in Hernando, Mandy Ham. Her son is Jackson. It was like Team Hambone. It was a big, they're from Hernando. I didn't know if you know them or not. But anyway, so, no, I didn't know anybody specific. I just went down there and saw all these people and running and raising money for St. Jude. And I was like, this is amazing.
Especially running through campus.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's
I had the
emotional.
privilege of actually playing guitar at the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah. Good and bad, because it pulls at your, literally, and forgive the pun on this, heartstrings the whole time, for real. No, for real.
That was significant.
It does.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've ran St. Jude several times. I don't know exactly how many times, but, and I've ran all around America, and it is hands down the most meaningful.
Absolutely.
It is the most meaningful race that I ever will run. I can't imagine
Yeah.
running something that means more. So then you guys get into, you get married in 2016. You're into exercise fitness. Juno, I think that anybody that follows any of the stuff you do around here, and by the way, he's on TikTok, guys. You check out, you can find Juno all over the place. You like to starve yourself to death. Recently, you made a post, you were going 7 days. I sent you a message because I wanted you to know from me how much you've meant to me in my life because I didn't think you were going to make it through that. I'm like, Juno, I appreciate it. I will come to your funeral. So,
I appreciate that.
Where did this come from? This idea of, you know what, starvation's fun.
Okay, so it started with carnivore.
No, sorry.
That's okay.
You started fasting because of the cruise.
Oh, that's right. That was just intermittent though. I didn't know anything about extended.
Not long term, but we both started dabbling in intermittent fasting. We were going on a cruise, and it was our technically our honeymoon because we never went on a honeymoon. And we got married, and 3 or 2 years later we went on a cruise, and he was like, "I really want to lose weight for the cruise, but I want to still be able to eat whatever I want."
Now, what came first, the fasting or the carnivore?
Well,
okay. So it sounds like fasting a little bit.
Intermittent fasting. But
good.
Intermittent was because I had plateaued. I lost, I don't know, 15 pounds. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then it was not doing anything else. So I don't even know how I heard about it. Heard about intermittent fasting. Started doing that. Lost another, I don't know. I got under 200
and
for the first time.
And he was at the time still eating horribly.
Eating whatever I wanted.
He literally was looking for any way to still eat whatever he wanted but lose weight. At the time, there was no desire of his to quit drinking Mountain Dew. That was not.
I feel you on that.
I'm
just saying. Yeah.
And then his sister almost died.
I did keep drinking Mountain. I was eating whatever I wanted to eat, but in that 6-hour window, intermittent fasting, I was going
16-8.
Was it 16-8?
Something like that.
Yeah, so you fast for 16 and then eat for 8. And obviously you can't eat a whole lot in 8 hours because you eat and then you're full.
That's true.
And if you eat again, then you're done.
Yeah.
So, and then you don't eat for 16 hours. So that worked at first. But that's how I got started in it. But then the longer fasts, I don't know how we got into that.
I think just he watches YouTube videos and it was just when he changed his lifestyle, which I just said something about his sister almost dying. You need to make sure that you say why you made this change because they need to know what happened and what scared you enough.
Would you like for me to do that now?
But hold on, I'm just saying you need to make sure that's talked about. I don't know why. He just started doing research and he started seeing how beneficial it was.
Well, when you do a 16-hour fast, it's good. It's whatever. But then you watch a video that's like, hey, if you can get up to 18, then you get this benefit. And then you're like, 24 does this, 36 does this. And then you're like, what? So come to find out, fasting is insanely healthy. Have you literally never done?
One time I had to go 24 hours because I had a colonoscopy the next day and I thought I was going to die. And then to add a little insult to injury, my wife cooked pizza, which is one of those foods you can't smell and not want. And I was like, you know what? I just at that point, I realized what a privileged life looked like. I've never been hungry.
Yeah. So here's the deal with fasting. The more the human body, I hate making these analogies to us as cavemen.
Okay.
But here's that's what it comes down to. What do we do? And before there were grocery stores and roofs on houses and air conditioning and all of that.
I don't know how society has survived.
So you eat when you can eat and you try to get food when you're not eating so that you can survive. Now, through that process, there's times when you don't eat. And so the combination of fasting, eating lean proteins, fasting, and sprinting as if we're hunting for food is the most healthy thing that humans can do.
And look, here's the thing. You're not just speaking from some ideas. You've lived this lifestyle for a period of time now. Yeah. Going on probably 8 years, 9 years.
Carnivore has only been going for a year and a half.
Okay.
But I've been, I started the fasting.
That was 2018, I think, when you started fasting for the very first time.
Okay. So, but then after that cruise, I told her, I was like, when I get down to my cruise weight, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
As soon as I get on the cruise, I'm eating ice cream. Yeah. I'm eating whatever I want. And at that point, my health went downhill because I was also 2018. What am I, 42? So, You get into your 40s and it's
your body puts the brakes on everything.
Yeah, I was in
more metabolism. Just
the carnivore thing started. I don't know how this segue, but the carnivore thing started because I was in the backyard catching Addison pitches. I was catching, and I don't think I had a bucket, so I was just kept bending down. Mm-hmm. And I was, when you're 47 and catching, it hurts your knees.
It hurts everything.
It hurts.
I can say that.
Well, he also got diagnosed with high blood pressure.
Mm.
He was on it, and that scared him.
Yeah,
and then
that gets in part of this. My sister had a stroke at 52 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my blood pressure was borderline high.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's multiple angles we could take on this. But going back to the carnivore thing. I was catching Addison, and I was like, if I don't, at that point I weighed over 230. I was like, if I don't do something, I'm not going to realize
I didn't realize you got that high.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not going to be able to do.
Till I look back on pictures.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do this with my grandkids.
Mm.
So if we're going ahead, and I don't know where you have carnivore on your thing, but if that's what's next on our talking points, that was a changing point in my life as far as our entire family
life health journey.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big
so you went
time.
carnivore as well?
No, not really.
Okay.
When he started intermittent fasting, I had never intermittent fasted. I had never really even watched what I ate. Honestly, again, my dad was very lean, so I think I'm
genetics
naturally,
were,
I'm 5 foot tall. I'm small. I'm muscular though, so I have the potential to be big if I want to be. Like I have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
So when he started fasting, I was like, I'll do it with you. I'd never fasted before, and I did, and I lost weight, but I was not muscular at the time. Again, this was back when I was still literally just, doing Orange Theory and running a few times a week to look a certain way,
Sure.
And then kind of the same thing-ish happened. The closer I get to, I turn, I got married at 28, so I turned 30. And for the first 5 years of my 30s, I start to see some changes. And it's the hormones. My hormones are changing. That's a part of it.
My wife's all up in some menopause, and she hates that I put that in there right now.
Yeah, but I mean...
She's listening, but it's just part of life.
Yeah. Well, perimenopause lasts 10 years.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's, and so that's when I started, and he went carnivore, and I saw the changes it made in his body. When I tell you, every ailment he's ever had completely disappeared.
Wow.
His gingivitis disappeared. Everything.
Interesting.
I quit snoring. Like, I've been snoring since I was a kid, and weighed 160. A healthy 18-year-old snoring.
And people think that you snore when you're fat. No, you snore when you're inflamed from
it's
processed
inflammation.
foods.
Yeah, it's processed foods. So I quit snoring. Gingivitis, I've had, my knees, I've had as a 47-year-old version of arthritis. It wasn't debilitating at all. But, if I stayed up late, if I had a gig that coincided with a softball tournament and I didn't get to go to sleep, my knees hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And within weeks of carnivore,
everything started to disappear.
Everything.
Interesting.
And I mean everything went away.
I've told
the
everybody.
bike ride, I rode a bike for 5 hours with no knee pain.
Interesting.
I tell everybody this, I'm sure people are so sick of hearing it, but he quit snoring, and which is great, right, for me.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
But
I have to wear a space mask.
But it scared me at first because I was like, I was doing this.
Oh, is he
See if
breathing?
He was alive. I've never heard him sleep that quiet before. But so in that process, I started paying attention to what I was eating. I've never went like fully carnivore. But I would consider ketovore is what I would call myself. My main food source is meat.
Okay.
Animal product, but I do. Well, I've made changes recently, but before this, I was, just aware of what I was putting in my body,
Yeah.
And then I started really concentrating on building muscle because women need to lift weights.
And women are more prone to osteoporosis as they get older. So there's a lot of changes.
And for hormone benefits as
Hormones,
well, And another thing, this is a whole, we could talk about this literally for hours. Women have to fast differently based off their hormones. You have to fast differently based off of where you are in your cycle. If you fast at the end of your cycle, you're going to throw your cortisol out of whack and you're not going to be able to sleep. It's going to mess up your estrogen. It's going to mess up your progesterone. It'll mess up your cycle. Like it's, and so
I have to ask you a question on this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're good.
Do you join in with his, because I've seen a lot of your stuff talking about the carnivore stuff, but I have not seen, because this sounds like that the conjoined effort, y'all have done a lot of living in this atmosphere.
Absolutely.
You have a lot to share. So do you ever do that with him?
Do what exactly?
Like, so share that with the world on TikToks and stuff?
No, not really.
She don't like being in them. She don't even like being in the cancer ones that we're doing.
I know, and that's
like,
what we're about to get to now.
Yeah.
And so whenever I asked Juno about you guys coming on, actually, he was like, my wife really don't do that thing.
No,
but
it's fine. That's his thing. But I'm fine doing it.
Sure.
But what's so funny about it all is that he's the reason why I started researching all the hormone stuff. He's the one that said, hey, I found this doctor on YouTube. Her name is Mindy Pels. You should really watch this YouTube video with me. And we watched it, and she talks about fast. She has a book called Fast Like a Girl. I've read it multiple times. I pretty much have lived my life by it up until recently. And he's like, so you're telling me,
Dude, the hormones are crazy.
that the end of your cycle, which is the last 10 or so days before you start your period, the day you start your period is day 1. So the end, you really are just pissed off and you can't help it, can you? I'm like, no.
Like
really
it's not
an excuse. And some women are worse than others. And the way we eat can affect those hormones. Like you eat processed food and it's all the devil has just got his hands in the FDA, and it's like they are killing us, and messing our hormones up, and
Before she read Fast Like a Girl, she was doing fasts and was having headache and couldn't sleep, couldn't sleep. She's like, well, when I fast, I can't sleep. Read Fast Like a Girl, come find out you're supposed to fast certain lengths at certain times during your cycle, and it's like,
I fixed it.
So I want to point this out right now. I'm not taking any credit. No royalties are needed.
Okay.
I am going to suggest that you guys just sit down using all of your data that y'all have used personally, you've done, write some books, maybe do some instructional videos.
I could write a pamphlet
of what y'all have done. That's the thing. So people sometimes get caught up in the idea that they're not an expert in something. They don't have the title or certification. But if you've lived the journey, it's like right now, I could tell you a lot about the don'ts and the struggles of running, especially as an older fat guy. I got that down pat. So it's like whenever you have some kind of a storyline that other people can relate to, I think it is important to share, and you're giving some great information. So all of that ties into where I want to go now, because the point is you guys have a healthy mindset. You have a healthy lifestyle. You have researched. You have taken a journey together. You have built self-discipline. When you guys came together, you had some struggles early on. I mean, both of y'all had prior relationships with kids, and then all of a sudden here it is. Now you're an expanded family, and you pay attention to what your health looks like. Okay, everyone, and that is going to be a wrap for this week. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you guys to come back for next week. You've gotten to know my guest pretty good at this point. Juno and Kristina, amazing individuals. Got to know a little bit about their background, how they came together, and what their family's like. So tune in next week to make sure that you can catch what it is that they're going through, their cancer journey. You don't want to miss that. They're going to be talking all about it. I thank you guys for tuning in. And like I always say, hey, go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com, subscribe to my YouTube. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out.